I'm Bruce Buffer. It's time for the Anthony Gorgano Show!
Good morning. Happy Tuesday to all across the Delaware Valley. This is the Anthony Gorgano Show presented by the Bet Park Sportsbook app. All right. It all happens tonight. Will it be requiem for the Sixers? Will it be a just carcass performance at Madison Square Garden tonight? Will they come out and you'll pack them in ice until the off season when we'll figure out what the roster looks like? Do they have the heart or the stones to go into Madison Square Garden where they have looked completely spooked, where they gave away 2 games and gifted game 2? Can they overcome a raucous New York crowd, a crowd that traveled and took over the Wells Fargo Center on Sunday, a crowd that's looking to party? Oh, they're feeling it all over Manhattan. I've been deluged by former coworkers and friends up there about how the Knicks will finish off the Sixers tonight and how Big Brother stomps the bleep out of Little Brother. That's what I've been told. Now, first of all, let's start from the beginning. I'm an idiot, okay? Because I expected this series to be different. I truly did. Going into it, when I think back to how I looked at this series, now, yeah, I am a flaming homer, right? Like, I get it. I do. I love it. So I make no apologies for it. But when I look and try to suss out games or series, I look at it from purely a sports angle. I love sports too much to let that stuff interfere, right? Like, yeah, I want the Sixers to win, but I thought the Sixers would win this series because I thought that they were the better team. The Knicks, without Julius Randle, I thought would struggle to score. And if you just do the math of Maxey and Embiid versus Brunson, I mean, I think you come away. Now, again, I gave all respect to Brunson and to Hart and DiVincenzo and Miles McBride and some of their role players. But I thought the Sixers role players would step up. I thought that they would finish off the Knicks. I thought it would be a longer series. You know, I thought the Sixers would win in 6 games. But I thought ultimately that they would be just a little too good. Now, I didn't think the Sixers would go into Boston, but you know what? Milwaukee, Indiana, hey, if the Sixers are rolling and you get Embiid playing really good basketball, I thought that they could make a prolonged run and even get out of the second round for the first time in God knows how many years, including the previous 6 right here post-process. But, of course, I didn't see Buddy Hield completely shutting down in the fetal position on the bench. I probably should have saw Tobias the Friendly Ghost, but I thought that Kelly Oubre would be enough to help complement Embiid and Maxey. And I thought, again, that Hield would play a bit of a role and that all the role players with Batum defending and giving you some boards, help on the boards and that sort of thing, playing good defense. I thought all that together cumulatively would mean the Sixers would beat the Knicks. But what we saw is really an ultimate Philadelphia sin. We've seen a team get out-hearted. That's Hearted. They've been out-hearted, out-hustled, outworked, out-rebounded, out-defended. Like, every bit of the hustle has been on the New York side. So I guess I should not be surprised when I walk in here this morning to the PHLY studios right here off of 10th and Spring Garden, that I say, hey, you guys ready? Can they show some stones? Can they show some moxie? Can they show some heart and pride and win tonight? Stave off the party. Get another home game, another chance for Sixer fans to defend the home floor. And the answer? No. No. There was VG, our man Violations Greg. He goes, no, they lose. Right? Like, matter of fact, the whole thing, like, he didn't even entertain the idea that they would show up with any moxie. Of course, Andrew, our producer, no, I'm done. They're done. Blow it up. And then even JP, one of the nicest, sweetest people I've ever met, was like, cuz I don't think this is it, right? So I walk in, it's 0 for 3. And I'm the lone idiot that thinks, well, don't they have to show up tonight? Like, isn't this a measuring stick for pride? Isn't that what this game is? Truly a measuring stick for pride? Like, don't you got to go in there angry? And don't you got to go in there and say, you know what? Bleep y'all, bleep Manhattan and the Bronx and Staten Island too, right? Don't you have to do that? Don't you have to say, like, this is it? And I'm curious to see how they're going to show up. Now, if we remember, and this is where I'm an idiot, last year, they had a chance to win Game 6 against the Celtics. And they choked it away. I mean, quite frankly, it was a choke job. And it was. They just frittered that away, that opportunity. They had the game won. Boston was a little bit, they were cold, a little bit infighting type of thing. Like they were ready, not like, because they weren't ready to win. Well, they lose. And then they go to Game 7 in Boston, and they get embarrassed, and they quit. Right? Like we saw James Harden quit. We saw Embiid quit. They were done. Game 7, they were done. Now, we saw the same thing 2 years ago in Miami. Harden's first year. Let's remember that series. They lose the first 2 games in Miami. They come back home and win the next 2 at home. Embiid's got the mask. You remember the whole thing. Well, Game 3, they lose. And then Game 4, they lose. It's just a whimper. It was a whimper. And they quit in that game. I remember Maxey was the only one playing at the end of that game where he was just the only one giving any kind of effort in that game. So here they are facing the same thing, down 3-1. And who shows up? With how much pride are you going to show up? Do they have any? I mean, if I'm Daryl Morey, I'm glued to what's on their faces. I'm glued. Now, I don't know. It could be that Joel Embiid is like Julius Erving, a great player that just doesn't know how to win. And that's the truth. Like, if you go back in the days of the Doc couldn't win. He was in the finals in 77. They were in the playoffs, 78, 79. He's in the finals in 80. They choke a lead away in 81. They're in the finals in 82. They can't win. They lose. Portland, the Lakers twice. Boston in the one series. And it takes Moses Malone to come in and show them how to win. And maybe Embiid is in need of his Moses, right? His spirit player. Maybe you need to bring in someone as you're filling out this roster in the summer to show them how to win, for God's sakes. Because, quite frankly, That's what we saw. We've seen a team not know how to win, not know how to finish games, not know how to keep composure, not know how to run an offense in the last 5 minutes of the game. That's what we've seen. So this is what's at stake tonight. That's Popping Off, brought to you by ALLCITY, the world's first incredibly tasting soda that's good for you. It's amazing for you. ALLCITY. Get yours at Wawa. Good morning, JP.
Buenos dias, cuz. Happy game 5.
I see it, and you're like thrilled. You can't wait.
I woke up this morning. I was like, you know what? This is probably the last time I wear Sixers gear. I put it on nice and slowly, look in the mirror as I'm like, drip, a couple tears coming down my face.
Yeah, you got the tear emoji going.
I got the PHLY gear. That's right. Make sure you guys check out the locker.
VG's got the devil emoji going.
That's how we're all feeling. We're all pretty somber here. It feels like we're already eliminated.
It's completely somber.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's in moat mode. Everybody's in Embiid mode. This is what's going on. Somebody's got to do something. Wake up.
Well, that's a key question.
Wake up, Joel.
Well, I would even say Joel, because, listen, Joel and Tyrese have given us a lot this year.
I say Joel because he's got to will the rest of them. You go as your star goes.
That's a good point.
And he's got to come in. Listen, I'm not a big, win one for the Gipper kind of person. I don't believe that pregame speeches matter. I really don't. I used to believe that stuff, and then I watched Andy Reid, and I saw what he says before the game. Now, the night before on Saturday night, they usually give you a little bit of a fire speech.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember Andy just going, yo, protect the ball, man. Come on, man. We know what to do. Protect the ball. Let's go. And basically, I sat there as he gave a pregame speech, and it was not some emotional made, a movie script, right, where it's Denzel, right? Or we're going to blitz all night. There's nothing happen like that.
It's not Billy Bob Thornton in Friday Night Lights.
No. That doesn't exist.
I get that.
The only person that would do that was Ray Rhodes, and those speeches were legendary, but they didn't mean anything, right? They weren't any good. So when I think about pregame speeches, I go, and I look at, there it is, Hoosiers, and, there's Coach Norman Dale, right? Giving the talk. I actually think Joel Embiid needs to go dig in his guys' rear ends and tell them, look, man, this is about pride. This isn't about, hey, let's get a jump start on our vacations. Right? This is going to show you a lot. Because if you want to be great, the elite of the league, tonight's the stage. If you get smacked around and you lose and you get embarrassed, that could cement them for the rest of his career.
Because it's a really good point you bring up. Because all these years we've heard players on the Sixers, give props to Joel Embiid and all his talent, even going through some injuries, showing that toughness as well. But you've never seen Joel Embiid kind of rise the play of everyone else. You see, I told you yesterday, I love that Anthony Edwards out of Minnesota. And you see what he's doing for the rest of that team. He's balling, and the rest of the guys are following suit.
And he's talking junk to KD.
It's fucking awesome. Man.
And he's unbelievable, right? He's 22 years old.
Yeah.
Listen, there's nothing worse than a Philadelphia team that goes and just gets pantsed.
Yeah.
Right? And they've gotten pants before. And if you keep getting pantsed, sooner or later, you got no pants. That's the truth.
No, you're
and then you
right.
Can't expect them. You're just bare.
Yeah.
And it means something going forward.
Yeah.
You have to show. Do I think they're going to win this series? Obviously not. They're down 3-1.
I don't think so.
Okay,
yeah.
So I'm not telling you that. But I think tonight's an important night, a statement night. You can't lose tonight. You have to go up there, and you can't sit there and watch them party all night. The crowd's going to want to party. They're going to be loud. They're going to be festive. They're going to be bleeping and beat all night long. And you got to stick it in their gigi.
Yeah. I mean, because screw the playoffs. Like, we all get that. Over 80% of this roster tonight is fighting for their job next year on this team.
Yes.
So, listen, we understand, we're in a 3-1 situation. That is not ideal. But if you want to be a part of this team next year, if you want to play with Maxey and Embiid, you got to come out here tonight and show us something. And it's really simple. Like Kyle Newback said yesterday, it was a great interview. Like, Joel and Tyrese, I as well fully expect to show up here tonight. But are we going to get something out of Oubre? Are we going to have Tobias Harris actually play like a dog?
Well, that's your silver lining, right?
Yeah.
Silver lining is it's the last time. If they lose, the last time you have to see him. In fact, I know there's a lot of sentiment that says just get it over with. Like Andrew, our producer, is just get it over with. Just lose. I don't want to deal with it anymore. But that's his mindset. But I don't want that.
No.
Because I think that is a stink that may never go away.
No, 100% right.
And you're already fighting that stink.
Absolutely.
You're already, it's like the car in Seinfeld. Like, I still smell it, right? You got to make sure you get rid of that stink. All right, we got lots to do today. Coming up, we'll talk birds. Jeff McLean from the Inquirer will join us. We'll go over the draft. We'll go over the offseason moves. We'll chop it up with Jeff in the big story. Coming up next, 10 o'clock. Oh, I want to hear Legs. We'll get Legs and what he thinks of the Sixers, what they need. I'll run the Moses thing by him. We'll talk about all that stuff and all the NBA playoffs because it's leg day. That's coming up at 10 o'clock. But let me tell you about the Bet Park Sportsbook and Casino app. Look, you're watching the game tonight. So Sixers are a 4-point underdog, which surprised me, to be honest with you. I thought the Knicks would be 5 or 6. That, on a night you're down 3-1, I think most people are expecting them to lay down. So 4 is an interesting number. 4 means it's a close game. We'll do that with the Big Brain coming up a little bit later on. The Bet Park Sportsbook app has all that stuff. So you want to go in-game stuff. Like if you see the Sixers sagging, you might want to at least profit off of it. So you can go in-game. You can go props. There's a million ways to play with the Bet Park Sportsbook app. Win your first $10 sports bet. Get $125 in sportsbook bonus bets. Don't forget the casino piece of it. They have all your favorite games, all your slots, and you have live blackjack dealers. I mean, you name it. You play for fun. You love to win. You bet. Bet Parks. Download the app now. Play along with us. Got to be 21 or older. Please gamble responsibly. You or someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, let me tell you about TrueMark Financial Credit Union. So I know their CEO. What I love about, I'll just start off here. What I love about TrueMark Financial Credit Union, and I knew nothing about credit unions, is then I met their CEO, Kelly Body. So they're local. They're all about local. They're headquartered in Fort Washington, and they're all about stimulating local business. It's really interesting once you kind of get to know it and do your homework. And Kelly is local. She is a huge 4for4 fan, and she's tough as nails. So I want Kelly with the squad tonight at Madison Square Garden. The credit union difference is interesting. When you join a credit union like TrueMark Financial, you become part owner. And that means the profits come back to you instead of going to shareholders. You get better rates, you get lower fees, you get a better return on savings, and you get more flexible options. And it's all the same digital tools and all the financial tech that you need. So just because you go credit union, you're not sacrificing any of the tech or any of the ease. In fact, they are fantastic. You got to check it out. They serve our community and our people right here at home. Head over to truemark.com/PHLY to learn more, to find a branch near you. That's truemark.com/PHLY, federally insured by the NCUA. All right. Now, joining us to talk some birds, and you got to love it. I'm loving this draft. Always an entertaining offseason. And let's chop it up with the man from the Inquirer who does such a great job covering the Eagles, Jeff McLean. Jeffrey!
Ant, what's up?
Good to see you, buddy. It's been a minute.
I know it's been a little while, but we're back together.
How's the family?
Good. Yeah, can't complain.
All
Kids are
right.
getting old. How about your guys?
Same thing. Travel. We're up at Diamond Nation this weekend. So
I
the
was there
travel.
last weekend.
What's that?
I was there last weekend.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Dude, how about that? That's a drive and a half. And I'm coming from like South Jersey. So that's a drive and a half.
I know. And it's one of these places where you got to pay to see your kid. I got to pay to see my kid play ball.
Dude, that's the biggest violation that they first of all, they hose you for all the tournament fees, right? For the team itself. And then to watch your child play baseball, they want to charge you. They stick it at you all the time. My God.
I know. I mean, he struck out. He had made an error. I was like, yeah, I paid to watch my kid play horrible.
I had that same sentiment. We had to go to the you know what does that too? The Adventure, but it's by Great Adventure. That one, they charge too. And Moss had a horrible game, right? I'm like, I had the same reaction. I had to pay to watch my kid play bad. Like there's nothing that sticks in your craw like that.
On top of the travel fees. I mean, it's getting ridiculous. This is my youngest, so I got a few more years. Well, he's 13, so I got a little more left of this. But then it's all, unless he, of course he'll go. He's going on to the majors, right?
Yeah, of course he is. It's our dream. Listen, it's the greatest. I don't care what happens. I say it all the time. I know we're joking about that stuff, but I love it every week. I love the whole sports dad thing. I live for it. I look forward to, like, when it's over, you're going to be probably going, oh my God, what am I going to do on my weekends?
Yeah, no, it's bitter. My oldest is, he's a senior in high school and he's not playing in college, maybe club ball, but this is basically the last hurrah for him. So I'm getting it's a little bittersweet. I'm getting a little emotional because he's got about a month left of baseball. And it goes quick, obviously, with our kids. We all know about that. But yeah, I do enjoy it.
Yeah, it's the best. All right, down to business. Let's go. So let's go 50,000 feet. Just the draft in its entirety. Give me your summation.
Yeah, I'm one of these guys where I don't like to grade or because we don't know, right? Ultimately, but I think on paper, what they did made sense, right? It wasn't like there were any kind of leaps of faith. Maybe a little bit with Alex Hunt in the third round, a guy that really didn't play against any good competition. And at least with the first round pick, Quinyon Mitchell at Toledo, this is a guy that could have transferred to one of the big programs if he wanted to. He answered a lot of questions at the Senior Bowl. I know Hunt was at the Senior Bowl as well, and that's kind of where he really got on the Eagles' radar. But I think for the most part, a lot of the picks made sense. You don't like to see them reach too much for need. I think you want to get playmakers, right? You want to get like studs that you can see being here for the next decade, especially with those first three picks. And, Howie shuffling the deck a lot, wheeling and dealing, and got three picks, third rounder, fourth rounder, and fifth rounder for 2025, which is supposed to be a deeper draft. And I had a feeling going into Saturday that he was going to do that because they had a bunch of picks that were too many picks and picks that were later in the draft. And apparently after the sixth round, it just really fell off. So I think, again, on paper, I think what Howie did made a lot of sense, but we'll have to see how this plays out, obviously.
Yeah, the Hunt pick is interesting because of the growth spurt of the position that he starts off as a safety at Cornell and then transfers, becomes this edge guy. He's 255. He's 6'5". So, like the frame is really good. He moves. He's got hands. So he's a fascinating prospect. And I hear you on the third round. Is because that's an area where you should get, a star. You should get a starter in the third round. He's an interesting guy. Like there's a lot of things I like about him, but again, he's a project.
And how he called him developmental pick. And it kind of sounded a little – he said basically the same thing when they drafted Davion Taylor, inside linebacker, in 2020. And so that kind of like rung in my ear when I heard him say that.
Yeah.
We all know what happened Davian Taylor. He could not play at the NFL level. And, he went to Colorado. He transferred into Colorado his last few years, but again, didn't really play much at that position and didn't play against great competition until the end there, and was kind of like a freelancer. And he had to come in here and really learn how to play the linebacker position. It took a few years and for them to even kind of give up on him. And, that's not fair to equate him to Hunt yet. But it did kind of ring familiar to me. And not only just Taylor, but some of the picks that Howie had made early in his tenure, where it's just like, oh, we discovered this Curtis Marsh. You can go down the line. There were, look, it happens. I think Howie's overall record in the draft is solid. But some of those first few years he did that, and then the last few years we've seen him go Power 5, and especially in 2021 when they were kind of they were resetting how they did business in the draft, and they got Devontae Smith and Landon Dickerson, guys who signed extensions this offseason, so they did very well there. But we still don't know about 2022 and 23. We don't know about Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith. I think Jalen Carter, we know, is going to be a quality starter, or already is a quality player. Cam Jurgens. So still kind of, uncertain about those picks and with going Power 5 guys. So I'm not saying how we go in two small school players with two of the first 3 rounds is a bad thing, but certainly a little bit of a change and versus what he had done the 3 previous drafts.
Big story. Eagles draft, as always, brought to you by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Check out the TrueMark Financial difference and the credit union difference, TrueMarkFinancial.com. So let's look at kind of when we look at the Arnold versus Mitchell. Like listen, I talked to a bunch of scouts, a bunch of NFL people, some coaches that dove into the draft. And, other than like Arnold played in Alabama, the only knock that I hear is that, will he put his nose in the run game? And that's it. But they love Mitchell, man.
Yeah, I had the Eagles moving up to 16 to draft him, so I can't criticize the pick. They got him at 22, right? I'd heard that they're really onto this kid and started to get a sense of it at the Senior Bowl in Mobile. I mean, they weren't the only team that liked Mitchell, and coming in, there was a lot of buzz. And then, okay, let's see how he matches up against some of these Division I, Power 5 Division I receivers, and he did very well. But yeah, I think that's going to be the question for the Eagles down the road is like, did you get the right guy? Because I think those two were pretty much unanimously considered the top 2 cornerback prospects in the draft. But Mitchell, there's a lot to like, and I think he's going to get an opportunity to win that job over James Bradbury, if Bradbury's even on the roster by the time the Eagles start playing. And, Arnold, Alabama did it there at the highest level, but he didn't have, I don't want to place too much emphasis on the numbers, but Mitchell certainly ran numbers that you want out of an outside cornerback more than Arnold did.
Let's talk about DeJean because, there was a lot of talk about Cooper DeJean and they move up. I love that. I thought addressing that need, which was a clear issue last year, and getting 2 kids that you can, it reminded me of the Lito Shepherd and the Sheldon Brown, Michael Lewis here going and getting D-backs like that. What do you think about DeJean? What do you think where he projects? I had one coach tell me he could play, that he wouldn't even hesitate putting him on the outside.
Yeah, I did the same thing right when the Eagles picked him, was call around. I talked to like 5 high-ranking personnel executives from 5 different teams, and I got mixed opinion. 3 of them said we would have given him an opportunity to play corner, but certainly see him at safety or slot. And I had 2 that told me that primarily they thought he was a safety. So there's going to be some assessment here when the Eagles get him to camp. Howie Roseman said as much. He wasn't going to pigeonhole him into one position. I did talk to somebody in the building that has pretty much an understanding of how the Eagles coaching staff views DeJean, and they're going to give him an opportunity for the outside, but I think they expect him eventually to be a middle field player, and that may come this summer We'll see how that pans out. The one comp that I have heard the most when it comes to DeJean, and this is a high bar, but it's Malcolm Jenkins, a guy who came in as an outside corner, played 1 year there, didn't have the foot speed to play there. They moved him to safety, became very good there, and then when he got to Philadelphia, because of his intelligence, was as versatile as any defensive back. Played both safety spots in the slot, played a little bit of quasi linebacker. If you get someone who can play that many positions in DeJean, then it's a home run.
Yeah, it's funny because I thought the same thing. I thought like he's good in space, and because when that coach told me about playing on the outside, I think he was saying he's that good of an athlete. I think he fits naturally playing in space. And again, as a slot corner, it works. So where do they now? The off season, we had free agency, we've had the draft. There'll still be some roster tweaking, but how do you assess this roster?
Yeah, typically I do kind of like a step back and look at the roster right after the draft. I did a different story in the last day, but I think that it was a solid off season. Look, he did well in terms of like locking up young players, and AJ, we know, got the extension as well. I think a lot of those moves made sense, and you're kind of getting them at what will be probably future bargains. Dressed the secondary, CJ Gardner-Johnson, obviously here in the draft, and running back Saquon Barkley, we know about that move as well, which I thought made sense. It wasn't like they were breaking the bank for him. I know 12.5 sounds a lot, but if you look at the cap now, the percentage of the money to that position, especially if you think he's a 3-down guy, is not that much. And they're going to ride him for these 2 years that they have him when he's in the guaranteed years of his contract. The one issue I have is at edge rusher. And, look, Josh Sweat, productive guy, but not a number one. They don't have a number one. And Hassan was your number one. And you went and got Bryce Huff, and there's a chance that you're expecting him to be number one. So there's a little bit of a projection there. And that's, you're taking a little bit of a risk there when you're projecting a guy who just did it in 1 year, whereas Hassan had done it over multiple years.
Yeah.
Now, I understand. Look, I get what happened with the Eagles moving on from him. Hassan wanted to be paid among the top 5 at his position. The Eagles didn't think that he was worth that. And they had to redo the deal anyway. They kind of boxed themselves into it going into that last year because the cap hit was so high. But I'm not blown away. You're asking a lot of guys. There's some wishing and hoping. Nolan Smith, we didn't see enough out of him as a rookie. I'm certainly not writing the story on him yet. I mean, he's young. It takes it takes some time for edge rushers to come in and be able to face against NFL tackles. So Brandon Graham's got another year he's his last year. He's almost 36, right? So I'm not blown away by the edge rusher position. I think that was one area that they needed to do maybe a better job. But, who knows? Huff may come in and be great as well.
No, I think that's fair. That's your biggest, I think, area of question. Like, obviously, with Kelsey leaving, that's always going to be a transition. But you feel like they're in good hands on the line. Everywhere else, I kind of like how it is. But I agree with you. I think the edge, you got lots of question. And, of course, the middle of that line, too, because of Jordan Davis and what to expect. Like, you need him to not just be, I'm going to go be a run stopper and that's it.
Absolutely. And, Fletcher Cox obviously retired as well. Look, the Kelsey thing, we knew was happening. Fletcher eventually knew was going to happen. And the Eagles, in both cases, prepared for it, right? They drafted Cam Jurgens and they drafted Jalen Carter. Carter and Davis kind of petered off towards the end of last year. Hey, understandable for young guys. It happens. But they got to get in NFL shape, especially Jordan Davis. And, you're looking at that draft pick. If this guy is just going to be a nose guard for a run-stopping nose guard, then I think it's an issue if you traded up for him in the first round. Like, you need a 3-down guy if you're spending that much capital on an interior defensive lineman. Now, look, he's still a fit in the scheme for Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio does a lot of odd man fronts. But when they drafted Jordan Davis, that was the question. Can this kid be a pass rusher on passing downs. And I think you saw some glimpses early last year, but by the end of the year, he was doing nothing. So, yeah, I think it's fair to question the interior of the line, especially in the pass rush. Because Milton Williams, I like Milton. He's in the last year of his deal. He's a third-round pick. He's kind of more of a run-stopping guy than a pass rush guy. Like, who else is going to move that pocket in the middle besides Jalen Carter?
So last night, I was asked a question over the weekend at one of these tournaments, and they said to me, "Hey, what really happened off the 10-1 start and then the subsequent slide? What can you make sense of as to why it just all fell off the table?" And there was it locker room issues? Was it what was it? And truthfully, I had no answer. And I'm curious, now that time has kind of gone by and you're able to reflect on it, do you have any answers as to why the slide?
Well, I did some reporting in season about things that I thought factored into the slide. And it's there's not an easy answer. There isn't a smoking gun. And I think that's what people want to know.
Yeah.
Want to think there is when something like that happens. But, again, I think it was a team that post Super Bowl thought it was as good as it was the year before and struggled to come to grips with the fact that they weren't as good. We had the replacement of both coordinators, and both those guys weren't good enough. I think the scheme, Nick Sirianni, had gotten stale. He went into the season. He told me specifically that they were going to try and hammer down on the stuff that they were great. And I know they wanted to do some things to tinker with the offense ahead of what defensive coordinators would do to stop them, but they obviously didn't do enough. I think Jalen Hurts certainly regressed. I reported this at the time. I think that when things weren't going well, he wasn't giving the locker room and the coaches a little what they need to see out of a leader in that type of situation. I think there's a lot to like about Jalen Hurts. The Eagles are committed to him financially, and it wasn't like his season was that bad. I mean, that Bills game right before the slide, he was phenomenal. He basically carried the team on his back. So he can be that guy again, and they're going to obviously address it. They obviously addressed it in firing Brian Johnson and bringing in Kellen Moore and changing the scheme. But I did a podcast episode on Kelsey to kick off our third season for Uncovering the Birds, and I basically talked to Jason throughout what I knew was going to be what I expected to be, and kind of had pretty much an idea that it was going to be his last season. So it was kind of kind of fly on the wall for Jason in the locker room, outside the locker room, at different various events, talking to him, talking to people around him, getting a sense of what his last year was going to be like. And there was one point I talked to Lee Johnson after the season, and he had told me that when Jason Kelsey was shaking his head during offensive meetings because he didn't like the game plan, you knew they were going to lose. And look, I mean, Jason isn't, that clairvoyant, but he is. And I don't think he was as much disagreeing with the stuff that Stout had in the run game, et cetera. But, and look, he's not always right as well. But I think there was a sense from team leaders that this offense just was not good enough schematically, and they weren't doing enough to help Jalen in the blitz. They weren't. Jalen wasn't playing well enough against the blitz, and it wasn't just the blitz. There were other areas that were an issue for this offense, and I think that, to me, say what you want about the defense, this team is built around offensive explosion, production, etc. Hey, just hang in there on the defensive side. I get all that, but the offense did not click, and I think a lot of that goes back to Nick Sirianni and the scheme and him. There's good stuff in that scheme. Obviously, they almost nearly won the Super Bowl the year before, but in the NFL, defensive coordinators will look at those teams and they will find out ways to beat them in the offseason, and the Eagles were not a step ahead of those defensive coordinators.
No, and it's weird because the three things that stood out was, how could there be no hot reads built in? Like, how could you just go in and not give your quarterback any answers to the blitz? How could there be no Jalen in the run game? And how come he didn't take over play calling when his OC was failing miserably?
Those are great questions, and I think if I'm going to counter the hot blitz thing, the Eagles want to be explosive. They want to throw downfield, so I think they favor that more than they do giving quarterbacks hot reads. But clearly, they needed to adapt when that wasn't working. And I think some of that falls on Kelsey, right? Who's responsible for protections and setting alignment when there are obvious blitz situations, and some of that falls on Hurts as well. I mean, he's got to be better against the blitz. To me, that's one of the huge questions going into the season. And I asked both Cam Jurgens and I asked Kelsey before the end of the season, and he agreed as well. He's like, "Yeah, is Cam going to be able to handle it, or do they want?" I think ideally you want your quarterback to handle it.
Yes.
And I asked Jalen about it, and he says he wants it. We got him last week, and he said he wants to do it. Are they going to give it to him? I think Cam can handle it, but you want your quarterback to be the maestro at the line, right? So I think that's could be a potential issue. I think Jalen has it in him, but is the scheme going to help him as well?
Yeah, I have a lot of concerns too with going back and watching all the film. Baldy and I did an extensive film study on it, and there are times when he just left the pocket. He was in evacuation mode, and he needed to slide maybe a step or way too early. He dropped his eyes. Like the play itself was not good. He regressed, and that really surprised me.
And running to the side of the field where there were no receivers at times. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
So I think that falls a lot on the coaching and the scheme. And that's, if we just shift gears here a little bit, it's like how much of the scheme is going to be Kellen's? How much is going to be Nick's? I think there's obviously going to be some of Nick in there. He's the head coach. I mean, look, again, it's not like his scheme was terrible, as I said before, 1 year before. Now, I think Jalen bailed him a lot in 2022. And then we'll see how Kellen is the play caller. He's done it at a high level in the NFL. So, I think at that, the very bare minimum is going to be an upgrade over what Brian Johnson had done. Again, I'm not placing all the blame on Brian Johnson, but he had never done it really. And then certainly had never done it in the NFL. It's a different game than it is in college. And the scheme didn't help Brian, and Brian didn't help the Jalen. And so it was a combination of things on the offensive side. So they're trying to get it fixed. Let's see if it works.
So, and last thing, Jeff, and you love your work, Jeff McClain Inquirer. Make sure you read him, follow him on Twitter and Instagram and everywhere else, and his podcast. If the specter of Belichick, when Belichick is interviewed and says, "Hey, there's three teams I would go to: the Giants, the Eagles, and the Cowboys," where does that come into play? Now, obviously, for Nick, I mean, Nick knows what has to be done. It doesn't matter if it's Belichick or anybody else. It's his job to lose, right? Depending on what happens next year. But is Belichick, the specter of Belichick, is that real?
I'm laughing because, well, I mean, like, I had heard about the Belichick thing, and Eagles decided not to do it. They certainly entertained the idea. At first, I thought to myself, when I started hearing it before the end of the season, was like, do they want to hand it all over to the Bill? You got to change everything in the building, and is that going to work well for Howie? But Bill and Howie have a lot of mutual respect, so
yes.
That would have been fine at least to start. Who knows how that's going to play out?
The two of them, that wouldn't be an issue.
That at first, right? We don't know if Bill all of a sudden wants to pick the groceries.
Yeah.
Then it happens to Howie, and Bill picked the groceries every year in New England. But I mean, but they ultimately decided to stick with Nick. I think there were a combination of factors in that. And Bill's getting up there. Bill's 72. I mean, how much longer is he going to coach? Do you want to change everything in your organization? And he just only hangs around for 2 years, and maybe doesn't have a succession plan in place. Obviously, a lot of the coaches that have gone on to being head coaches under him haven't panned out as well. So maybe you don't trust Bill in that respect. But, I mean, I laugh because it's just like, this is going to hang over Nick this year. I mean, he's clearly on the hot seat when you have to fire both your coordinators and make other significant coaches changes. It's clear that the ownership and the front office wanted certain things to change. But yeah, I would not rule out Bill Belichick as a possibility if Nick Sirianni doesn't get it done here. I'd heard that Bill wants to be in the Northeast because he wants to remain close to home. That could take the Cowboys out of the equation, but they're the Cowboys as well, and I'm sure there's probably some attraction, there's some allure there, but certainly New York, he has the past there would make sense, and Philly because I think Jeffrey Lurie has immense respect for Bill Belichick, and as does Howie Roseman.
Yeah, great stuff, brother. Great to catch up with you, man. We'll be doing it regularly. We appreciate it, pal.
Thanks, Ant.
There he is, Jeff McLean from the Inquirer, chopping up. There's just always a fascinating story, man. And the way they're, I love the roster. I agree. I think edge and that D line is the biggest issue. All right, let's go and look at life from a betting standpoint. Tonight's game, Sixers 4-point underdog. Seems kind of short. We got the brain.
Brain. Brad, the Brain Feinberg.
Hello, Brain. Good morning.
And yesterday I was upset, but calm down. Hopefully a better performance from the Sixers tonight. But Anthony, I agree with you in what you just said. I actually think the line is a little bit too short. Again, these games have been 5.5, consistently both sides, right? Now we're down to 4, and you can even if you want to on the Parks app, you can make it 3.5. Not even laying that big a juice. I only can look at the Knicks way. Unfortunately, I think the series is over tonight.
So again, that's the prevailing notion, right?
Yeah.
But when the number comes in like that,
Sure.
It's interesting because they know, first of all, it's New York money, and all New York is going to be loaded up on the Knicks. So
Yeah.
I thought the number would come in higher to account for that, which then tells me that there's something else there that they see a Sixer win tonight.
I think, Anthony, part of it is just it's also an elimination game for the Sixers. So if this series was 2-2, believe it or not, I think this line would be higher. It may not make any sense, but I think this line would be a tick higher if the series was 2-2. But because it's 3-1, elimination game with the Sixers season's on the line if they lose, I think they're giving them a little bit of extra respect that I don't personally think they deserve right now, just being honest, keeping it real. Again, I think it's going to be a tough game, and I think the Knicks, I think it's going to be a close game. I know the Sixers are going to battle. I know it's going to be tough. I know it's going to be close.
Will
But
they
at the end
battle?
of the
That's
game,
my
I
whole
think-
thing. Like they have to, they should, they need to, but will they? That's kind of the
I
whole
don't think
question.
so.
Like their heart and everything else and pride is on the line tonight.
It is, Anthony. Look, it is. And look, before we talked about it, I've gone on here. I always bet when I'm wrong, man. And I'll tell you, before the series, I made a large bet on the Sixers to win the series. Listen, does not look good. I think I'm going to be dead wrong. I thought the Sixers were the better team. Still stubbornly think, Anthony, the Sixers should beat this team. I'll admit. While I'm going to get the result wrong, and I still don't think my process was necessarily off, but look, I give the Knicks credit. They've battled. They've been the tougher team. And look, Anthony, you know what? You get this. You know sports as well as anyone. In the playoffs, it's always these close games that decides it. It's like the Sixers kind of blew them out in Game 3. The other 3 games went down to the last minute. The Sixers are 0-3. Well, when you're 0-3 in the 50-50 games, it's really hard to win.
All right, so what do you got tonight? What's on the
I got you some props in tonight's game, my friend. Okay, Tyrese Maxey, under 4.5 rebounds, Anthony. Look, even with the extra minutes, which I understand he's getting and he's going to get, he's averaging about 3.5 rebounds, and he's, Anthony, to this number, he's 44-15. So I think this number, again, there's no ties in sports books, just like there's no crying in baseball, right? There's no ties in the sports books. So I think Maxey's over-under should be closer to 4. They're making it 4.5. I bet Tyrese Maxey, Anthony, under 4.5 rebounds. Next, Anthony, this is my favorite one, and I got to tell you. Let me ask you a question because we haven't talked. Who would you say is the Sixers' third best scorer right now?
Oubre.
Not even a doubt, right? I bet over 9.5 in game 3. I bet over 10.5 in game 4. They raised it again to 11.5, but I don't care, Anthony. He averaged 15.5 points. He's now getting 38 minutes a game versus the 26 he got in the regular season. So let's think about this again. Okay. He averaged 26 minutes in the regular season, averaging 15.5 points. He's now getting 38 minutes, and they're making the over-under 11.5. I just don't think it makes much sense. He's averaged 17 in the last 2 games. With the way that it's going with Tobias Harris, Anthony, this is my favorite bet of the night. I think this line should be, even you factor in the Knicks' good defense, Anthony, maybe 13.5.
Yeah.
I think 11.5 is just too light. Give me his over. And Anthony, I'm going to give you another one. Joel Embiid, under 1.5 steals. He's 26-13 to this under. Now he's going to get more minutes. I get that, but I still think this is at least a 60% winning bet. He's just not a huge steal guy. So those are my 3 in that game. And Anthony, I'll give everyone a prop and an opinion. I really bet, Anthony. I know they were mutts in the last 2 games. I get it, but I do think this Orlando Cleveland series has been you talk about a blatant home court series, right? I mean, this has just been every team at home has won by a zillion points. They're laying 4.5 right now, minus 113 on the Park site, Anthony. I do like the Cavaliers. I think they get up 3-2 here. I think they win this series still. I think they win this game by 5 or more. Still not a big believer in Orlando, even though I do know that Cleveland's no great shakes either. I like the Cavs laying 4.5. And I like Franz Wagner, Michigan guy, but not to get a block shot, Anthony. He's gone under that total 49 of 72 games. It's about an even money bet. Even with getting extra minutes, again, we should be laying at least $1.60 here.
All right. And by the way, you can reach the Brain, who's unbelievable. His record is ridiculous. Nobody does props like the Brain at bradsbestbets.com, bradsbestbets.com, or on Twitter at bradsbestbets. So, any baseball?
Who do you like? Well, yeah, I'll give you one baseball. Who did you like in the Sixers game tonight, Anthony? Who are you with, my friend?
Who do I like to say? I mean, honestly, to me, you can't handicap it. The line is like they should win the game.
I would rather
every
take the
game's
Sixers
been
getting
close,
the money line, Anthony.
right? Like they give it. What's that?
I would like this. I would like if you like the Sixers tonight. I will say this: I'd much rather take the money line than the 4 because I think there's a better chance they just go out and win the game by like 8, 9, 10 points and just put a whooping on the Knicks. I would rather, in this case, take the money line with the Sixers than take the 4. If you like the Sixers side, that's just my opinion. Because I think
I completely agree. They're either going to lose by 15, or they're going to win by 10. Like it's kind of how I look at it.
I like that, Anthony. I think you make a lot of sense. And look, baseball night, Freddie Peralta, Anthony, over 6.5 strikeouts, 4-1 to the over this year, has the best K rate in Major League Baseball, going against a team that strikes out a decent amount of times in Tampa Bay, 20th out of 30 teams. Freddie Peralta, I think the number should have been 7.5, so I'm taking over 6.5, my friend. Like the T-shirt, by the way. Coach Rule, get that for you?
Yes.
I like it. I like it.
Yes. Huskers. I love that. You know what's funny? Some people.
I love those kind of shirts. I wear that.
Well, it's funny. Some people collect, different things, and I like football gear, right? Like I have stuff from all NFL and in college, all over the place. I love it. So I know a lot of those people in college football and the NFL. So I have all kinds of practice stuff and all. I'm a loser. I love that stuff.
No, man, I'm right there with you, man.
Wear.
I'm right there with you. I think it looks great. Well, listen, Anthony. Hopefully, when we're speaking tomorrow, the Sixers have a big performance. Get back to Game 6. Get the fans excited again, Anthony. I got to tell you this. Last one before I let you run. Game 6, if there is one, what's the crowd going to be like? Is it going to be what we saw last time?
Dude,
I've never seen that.
I mean,
As a Philly guy, I was offended as a Philly fan. I'm diehard Philly.
Yes.
It hurt me. It
wounded you. I was talking to people down there. It was unbelievable. They're celebrating MVP chants, F&B chant. You got to be kidding me.
Well, that would never happen for the Eagles game, right? Was that just because it's Sixers?
No.
Okay. I just was stunned as a Philly guy. I was hurt. I was actually really hurt. But anyway, we'll see you tomorrow, my friend.
I'm with you. Great stuff, Brain. Thank you, brother. We appreciate Daily Grind, brought to you by Bet Parks and the Bet Parks Sportsbook app with that man, the brain, Brad Feinberg. All right, coming up, leg day. So we'll dive deep into it, man. This sit down with Tim Legler, NBA analyst. We'll get into what this team is and looking toward next year and what it's about. Legs will always have poignant opinions. So we'll get into that, cover the NBA playoffs, and then we got the clubhouse. But let me tell you about Primo Hoagies. Yes, because May 5th is National Hoagie Day. Yeah. So make sure you put that on the calendar because they have all kinds of good deals going on for National Hoagie Day. Is there anything better sports food than Primo's? Because we could be watching a game tonight and you got a family like who likes the meatball sandwich? Who likes the chicken cutlet sandwich? Who likes the traditional Italian hoagie? Who wants the veggie hoagie? Ham, turkey, like you name it, you got it. And it's all made with love. Like those sandwiches, oh man, they're the same exact hoagies from the original. And the original goes back to 1992, right there on Rittner Street. That's the original Primo's. Now there's over 90 locations across the Delaware Valley. They're all over the country now. Primo's is spreading Philadelphia food all over the place. And, it all starts with the bread, right? Like that incredible seeded roll, baked fresh in stores every couple hours with all those incredible ingredients. It is Primo Hoagies. Go to primohoagies.com. Get the party tray for parties, right? You watch parties, games, all that stuff. Primo's. All right. You'll say what I always say. It's not just a hoagie. It's a Primo.
Absolutely. Well, guys, listen, let me tell you guys a little bit about the time of year. It is spring. We got our producer Andrew and VG already busting out the shorts here already. And it feels good outside. It feels nice to go outside, take a nice little walk, take in that sun. But guys, with the change of weather also does come the allergies. And allergy season is here. We are in full effect with allergy season. You guys feel that itchiness in your eyes, that redness in your eyes? Well, it's not fun, right? When you want to itch your eye, it's not fun at all. Of course, you get your nose is all congested. Everything, it's just not fun right now with springtime arriving here and all the allergies. That's why you guys got to check out our friends over at Rite Aid, ladies and gentlemen. They are here to help you with all of your allergy needs with this time of year to defend against that pollen and the allergies, ladies and gentlemen. And right now, of course, guys, head on over to your local Rite Aid. You can find all the medications, including the infamous nasal rinse as well, for all of your allergy relief. And of course, right now, Rite Aid has you hooked up. Make sure you guys are reward members. You can sign up right now, Rite Aid Rewards at riteaid.com/rewards to receive discounts on all their medicines for allergies, and of course on all of their relief for allergies as well. So right now, visit your local Rite Aid today, stock up on allergy relief, or catch up on immunizations for RSV, shingles, and more. Walk in or schedule a vaccine appointment today at riteaid.com. And thank you to our local Rite Aid.
All right. You know what that means, JP?
What does that mean, cuz?
It's now leg day.
Oh.
Don't we love leg day?
Leg day.
We always love leg day around here. Let's see it.
Leg day. Leg day. Leg day. Leg day.
How about it? You like some leg day, Tim Legler?
What's up, brother?
Dude, tonight, now I can't wait to talk to you about this because nobody has more pride than you. Like, when it comes to competition and making it, like you made it as an NBA player. You made it as a guy from a small school. Like you did what you had to do. You go play in a small town in France. Whatever you did, you played in the CBA. You had immense pride. That's the only way you were going to make that league. You still have it. Tonight is all about that for me. Like, going into tonight, going into that place, that arena which has spooked them, right? That arena, House of Horrors, they've melted there. It's all about pride tonight.
Yeah, certainly when you find yourself behind, and a lot of it is about pride, right? How bad are you willing to fight to stay alive? I mean, that's a lot of what this comes down to. When you look at the last game, Anthony, I can point to a number of things for that game where the New York Knicks, I think, just kind of wanted it a little bit more, man. They played a little bit more desperately and smarter. I mean, I think when I look at their, the Sixers' offensive possessions down the stretch, I look at keeping the Knicks, fouling a three-point shooter, with 3.5 minutes to go. You look at some of the things that they did that contributed to their own demise. You got to be smarter. You've got to do a better job competing with the air of those plays. And you're going to find out a lot about this Sixers team tonight, I think, in this environment. This is the most electric environment in the league right now. Everybody knows it. Even when you're not at Madison Square Garden, you pick up the vibe when you're watching the game. There's nothing energy Garden does when the Knicks are good. And so they're going into it, man. They're going into the Lions Den. And these games are going to be close. They're all close with these two teams because the Knicks don't have enough firepower to run away from you. All right, they just don't. They've got the game. Who knows on a given night what you're going to get from any of those guys. So they're not going to run away from you. This is going to be a tight game. It's going to be decided by a handful of possessions. And so the Sixers have to be smarter. They've got to be tougher, and they have to play what you're talking about.
Let's look at Sunday for a second. And look, you mentioned smarter in offense, and you're so right. But also, what were they trying to do? Joe was 35 feet from the basket, his gas tank on empty, right? And Nick Nurse, I get you right now, don't have any faith in Paul Reed. I understand it, right? When Embiid's off the floor, their offense comes to a halt. But the issue is you had to give him a rest in the third quarter. I mean, he was completely done. You saw him tugging at his shorts while the play's going on. You need him down the stretch, at least with a modicum of rest.
No, I agree with that. Like at some point, I mean, if you got a guy that's hobbled, and he's a big guy anyway. He missed a ton of time. He certainly isn't in peak physical condition. He missed more time even after he came back. Yeah, at some point in the third quarter, you need to figure out a different lineup that you can go with to buy you 3 minutes, 4 minutes. That's all we're talking about, man. When you add in the timeouts that are around that, whether it's that last timeout mandatory of the third quarter, and then you get him a break, and then you get the break between quarters. I mean, in real time, you're talking about that could be 10 to 15 minutes where you can buy him enough time so you can play the fourth quarter and be a little bit more fresh. But here's the thing, Anthony. Regardless of how Joel Embiid, you might have thought he felt or how fresh he was or where his win was at, it's inexcusable to not have something that you can run to guarantee he touches the ball at the elbow or at that area that he loves, which is between the foul line and the top of the key. In a one-on-one situation where they're forced to double team in the middle of the floor if they want to run somebody at him, and he's got all passing lanes available to him, or he puts his head down, swings through, and goes and draws a foul the way he was just eating up Hartenstein on that exact move, or he jabs and shoots that little lean back jumper that's unstoppable, that he's probably one of the top 5 most consistent and accurate shooters from that distance in the entire league. They didn't do any of it. I wanted to make sure I saw it correctly, so I went back right before we came on the air, about half hour before we came on. I looked at the last basically 6 minutes of the game, and I wanted to see, to make sure it was, because I know in the moment I wasn't working that day, so I was just watching the game. I wasn't like taking my normal, 82 pages of notes watching the game. I was watching, but visually I knew what I thought I was seeing. I wanted to go back and verify. I can go down possession by possession and look at their last 8 to 10 possessions of the game, and it defies logic what they were trying to accomplish. And look, if you're going to tell me that's because Joel Embiid didn't have it in the tank, just they couldn't go to him because he's limited, you can't post him up because he's got no lift. Okay, if that's what you want to say, fine. Well, then, I mean, what's the point of having him stand 22 feet from the basket or stand in the dead corner while you run offense with Kelly Oubre or Tobias Harris, whoever, or Maxey, these guys trying to run offense? Their offense down the stretch was an abomination. There's no other way to describe it. That was a winnable game if you can just get probably 2 baskets in the last 6 minutes, 2 field goals, you probably win the game. Assuming, of course, you could have cleaned up a couple of those offensive boards, which were killers too.
Yeah, I was disappointed with how Nurse take me into Nick Nurse's mindset there because I was disappointed. I was also disappointed at that stretch in the third quarter where, and this was on Embiid, where they're up 10, they could have like really got some separation, and they had 3 bad possessions in a row, like just bad turnovers. Like you brought up IQ, and sometimes I want to pull my hair out with some of the just bad decisions that happen in key moments when you can extend leads.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to sit here and just pound Nick Nurse because I know Nick Nurse is one of the brightest guys in this league. That's one of the sharpest minds in the NBA. And he's been through the wars, man. He's navigated a team to a championship. Nick Nurse knows how to freaking coach. So he's got limitations with Embiid not being 100%, with, even Maxey, as great as Maxey is, right? The next level for Maxey is to become a Jamal Murray, where you can run him as your primary option at big spots, knowing he's going to get the shot he wants. That's the next level for Max, and he's an electrifying player. He's an all-star. He's got certainly a lot more room for growth. So the sky's the limit for Tyrese Maxey. But I don't think that he's there yet where you say, okay, listen, we have 2 stars. So it doesn't have to be Embiid. Let's run some high ball screen. Let's run some 2-man game with Tyrese and Joel. And we know they're going to be smart enough. They're going to make the right read. And if it comes down to it and Tyrese Maxey has to shoot the ball 3 times in the last 3 minutes of the game off of 2-man action because that's the shot that's there, you fully trust he's going to get a quality shot for himself and knock it down. Like, that's where Denver is with Jamal Murray. And Jamal Murray's numbers aren't as good as Maxey's in the regular season. Jamal Murray doesn't go out every night and get 25, 30, 350-point games like Maxey had. He doesn't have to. But what he does do, when it comes time for those pressure moments, they have inherent trust in those 2 guys to go run 2-man action and get something good, either for yourselves or a clean look for a role player because of the attention you've drawn to yourselves because you're that dominant in running that action. Maxey's not there yet, so it's got to be Embiid. It has to be Embiid. He has to touch the basketball in his sweet spots. That's not 18 feet off the block when he posts up and he ends up catching it almost at 3-point line with a live dribble. That's not his sweet spot. That's going to probably result in a lean back bad shot or a turnover. His sweet spots are at the elbows or in between the foul line and the top of the key. When he catches the ball, turns, squares up, and the defense has no idea how to go guard that because he's probably going to draw foul if he drives. He can make the lean back jumper because he's in a comfortable range at an area of the floor he loves, or he's got every passing angle available to him to pick you apart, and they never got the ball to him in those spots for 5 straight minutes. It defies comprehension. And part of it is Nurse, I guess. Part of it's Embiid. Part of it's Maxey. Part of it's Kyle Lowry as an 18-year vet. Like, figure it out how to get the ball to your best player where he wants it the most. And that was the most frustrating thing to watch that just slip away because it was possession after possession with nothing organized, not getting the ball to your best player where he likes to have it to put pressure on the defense. And I felt it was a really, really big-time lost opportunity, man, to get this series even.
Yeah, and it's funny you brought that up because I was going to ask you, one of the things going forward, like next year, is they need a lead guard. Look, I love Maxey, and he should play with the ball in his hands a lot, but he does have limitations when it comes to a little basketball IQ, and he's youthful in that sense. A true lead guard that could actually get them into sets in the playoffs is something that's begging out there, and you can't expect Kyle Lowry at 38 to do that.
No, that's all you're missing, man. It's a glaring need for this team. Tyrese Maxey should be playing most of the game, right? Not necessarily what I would call off the ball. Like he's not Klay Thompson. You're not
Right.
going to run up, screens and split action and get him dribbling handoffs and jump shots. He can do some of that. He's better than that with the ball because if you play him that way, you're not taking advantage of that blazing speed where he could turn a corner on anybody from 30 feet and get to the rim in one dribble. Right? So you have to have some of that. But what would be nice is to have a lead guard that understands how to manipulate a defense on ball screen by being smart and probing and getting into the lane and then making a pocket pass, a lob, a kick out. So somebody gets a quality shot in that moment because the way they're processing the game is as a guy that's seeing the entire floor. And don't get me wrong, you can't have somebody in that spot that can't score at all. You got to be able to put the ball in the basket to a certain degree, even if it's mainly as a spot point shooter. But somebody that can run the operation and get you a quality shot and increase your efficiency because Maxey getting the ball, coming off a down screen, hit him, and now he goes into his action is better than having him handle the ball as much as he does, particularly in pressure situations when it might require a different read than getting your own shot. He's not going to create offense because his passing is on point. He reads a situation and delivers the ball with velocity and accuracy. We have guys in the league that play that spot that do that. Luka can do that. LeBron can do that. Tyrese Halliburton, like guys like that. That's not Maxey's game. He's a raw scorer. You need someone alongside of him that is someone that can create pressure on the defense to force a reaction that's going to make the game easier for Joel and him. So you're right. It's a glaring need for them because I don't know when I watch the Sixers play and they're a tight game with 4 or 5 minutes to go, and this is going on for a while, but especially with this team, I have no idea what the hell I'm about to see that they're going to try to accomplish on the offensive end of the floor. Do you have that doubt with the Knicks? You know exactly what that's going to look like. High ball, and he's going to get to his spots. He's going to sneak dribble. He's going to get to a little mid-range, lean back, pull up, or he's going to try to, hezzy you and then get to the rim. You have something with his footwork and up and under to try to get something in the basket. And if that's exhausted, there's a kick out to a guy for a three probably. That's that. Every possession. That's what it's going to look like. Sixers, I have no idea. What's this about to look like? Game on the line. What are they going to do here? Oh, there goes Embiid running to the left corner. Like, what are we doing? And I think that's the frustration for Sixers fans. For me, just as an analyst, I'm not losing sleep over these games, but it's frustrating to watch a team leave so much on the bone. And that's what they did, I feel like, in this game. And it really cost them because I don't know how you're coming back.
It's the whole series. You're so right. It's the whole series. Have you ever seen, first of all, the rebounding conundrum, right?
Yeah, man.
Big spots that they're giving up second and third chances. It's unbelievable. And then the lack of any kind of role player stepping up. Have you ever seen anything like Buddy Hield, a guy who's afraid to play?
No. That's that one has shocked me, man, because when they acquired him, and of course he went a long stretch without Embiid, and he's a guy that's certainly better when he's got other people drawing some attention because a guy can really shoot it. He's actually in Indiana. If you watched him play Sacramento, he's a really good and timely, like weak side slasher when there's action taking place so he can catch and finish on a cut. He's really good at that. He's not a guy that you're going to trust to run like ball screen and get something good. He's got about the same. He's about the same in that category as like a Klay Thompson, to reference him again. Like that's not his wheelhouse. If he wants to get a ball screen, come off and you don't play it right, he could bomb a three, but he's not going to come off and make you pay. He's not going to do that. So what does he do? He's a spot-up shooter. He's really good transition guy on that secondary break running into a three, and then he's a pretty good slasher and cutter. And when I saw him in New York on the court in the first game, the one time he caught the ball and being pressed defensively, I saw him dribble the ball from the left sideline all the way over to the right sideline, like, and then hand the ball to somebody. Like, here, take it. And then they went back to him in I think it was game 2, or it might have been game 3, the first game in Philly. Nick Nurse went back to him. He had a wide open naked shot in the corner. And I think it could have changed his night, maybe changed his series if that goes. And it was just a little long. It was a good shot. It was straight. He just missed it. He got one more opportunity. There was 4 minutes of playing time. And Nick Nurse said, you know what? I got to go somewhere else. With the campaign, who's getting a pretty nice lift, even did it again in game 4. I'm shocked by Buddy Hield. I really am. You're talking about a guy who's a national There was the National Player of the Year, played a national championship game, has been in the league for a while, has done some good things. In his time in the league, I think he's top 5 in the league in made threes. Like, this is a guy that has been a very productive NBA player, and for whatever reason, this has looked overwhelming to him. And that's too bad for the Sixers, because man, oh man, could they use that 10, 12 points, maybe 15.
That's the difference in the series. The difference in the whole series is Buddy Hield. We thought he was going to contribute and be, hey, space and Embiid works well. You figured, I mean, that's how it was all in our minds. And truthfully, that's the whole series. They would be up 3-1 if Buddy Hield is Buddy Hield that we knew who he was and just gives you 10 points.
Here's the thing, man. You are in a one-possession game with 3 minutes to go, and you shot 35% from the field. 35% from the field. You just don't see teams shoot that on a given night in a playoff game and be anywhere near a team. They're in a one-possession game. You know, string together 2 stops, you could take the lead. And they couldn't throw the ball in the ocean because the looks they were getting weren't great. And obviously the limitations of it, yeah, man, it's a massive factor in the series. But look, you can't just pick and choose when to use that as an excuse in a game. He had 50 the game before. He had 27 in this game going into the fourth quarter. So he's on pace to have a 35, 40-point game if he delivers in the fourth. So and then it's like, then he's winded, he's leg in the fourth quarter. No, come on, we can't use those excuses, man. Either the guy is out there playing or he's not. He looked good enough to me to continue to go to him in the fourth quarter, and he just never got in position to try to decide the game. So look, what I'm trying to say to you is I guess I'm trying to give hope because of the nature of these games being so close, Anth. You're talking about massive differences in a handful of possessions to determine the outcome of the game. And I think they're going to be in the same boat in game. I'll be shocked if the Knicks run away with this and end this thing in a runaway tonight. I'd be shocked. This is going to be a tight game. Do you make the plays? Do you execute offensively? Do you get a defensive rebound when you have to? Do you come up with a loose ball? Does somebody make a timely shot that's not named Joel Embiid or Tyrese Maxey? Because the Knicks get that. Every team gets that in the playoffs. So there's just little things. They're so close, man, to getting this thing back for a game 6 in Philadelphia. But you got to tighten up the margins. And let's see if they're able to do it tonight.
All right, so I got to share this with you. This is fresh off Twitter. This is Keith Pompey. Joel Embiid is not at shoot-around. He is questionable with a migraine. Now, he follows that up, Keith. Kelly Oubre did not feel well this morning and will not attend shoot-around.
You got to be kidding. You got to be kidding me, man.
I hate him. What in the world?
Come on, man. This is the time. This is the time. And look, nobody's going to deny Embiid's dealing with some stuff, man. Between the injury to Bell's palsy. This guy,
right.
He's going through it, and I get it. You might have a migraine, not be at shoot-around. That's the kind of thing, to me, it's incomprehensible that anything is going to keep you out of the game. Look, if you want to rest the shoot-around, if you're the Sixers, hey, listen, just getting him some extra rest. We didn't think it was necessary for him to be on his feet. We're gonna just get him as fresh as we can for the game. Like that's to me, that's a positivity vibe, right? We're getting ready for tonight.
Yes,
that you know what I mean? Because to me, stuff like this is you're already setting yourself up, right? It's like a defensive approach to a game that requires max aggression and max confidence and we're jumping into the trench. We're putting our hard hat on. We're rolling our sleeves up and we're about to fight until our last bullet. And that's not what that is. That's a different type of mentality that you're hearing right now. Look, I don't know how it's going to play out with the Embiid now tonight. Who knows? And Oubre, I don't know what I'm about to see, but I don't know that I like that vibe the morning of the game when you're fighting for your lives to extend this series against a team that is beatable. Come on, man. This isn't the Celtics. This isn't a 64-win team. This is a good team that plays incredibly hard. They've got a superstar offensive player. And then they got a bunch of role players that, just like the Sixers, man, are up and down game to game. All that adds up to, we're in this series. We're in this series. Clean up the things I mentioned earlier. You got a chance to get this thing back to Philly. Then you're talking about a game 7 in Madison Square Garden. Okay? But to kind of, it sounds like, man, is setting themselves up here for what we saw last year in Boston in the closeout game. That's all.
Yeah, and that's the thing why we have this reaction. Hey, you're right on. Like, listen, he's got a migraine, so babe, I don't need you to shoot around, whatever. But it does feel eerily similar. Like, oh, here it goes. They're getting ready, just like Miami 2 years ago in a game 6, and they quit at the end. Just like last year you mentioned it, game 7 Celtics when they quit. That's what it feels like again.
I hear you, man. I mean, I got nothing to add to that, because that's the last thing you want to hear is that vibe, man. Like, you would love nothing more than, if the guy physically can't be a shoot around, he can't be I don't know, man. I don't know.
Right.
I have no idea. I played 10 years in the league. I'm not Joel Embiid. I get that, man. I was a role player. But, I played 10 years in the league. I can tell you this, I never missed a shoot around. And if you don't think I had the flu and I was a shoot around, hell, one time I was hungover. I was a shoot around. All right. I mean, you do what you got to. The only time I didn't miss shoot around, man, until I tore my ACL. I tore 3 ligaments in my knee. Guess what? I missed shoot around the next day. Yeah, and they had to keep me out of the building because I wanted to get there for that. So look, it is what it is. I don't know what he's dealing with. I never want to question guys. I just don't, and I'm not doing it now. I'm just saying it's unfortunate for the Sixers because the vibe you'd want to hear, what I described. No, man, we're in this, man. We're ready. We're going to come in there tonight. We're going to get a win. That's how we feel. And we're going to get this thing back to Philadelphia. We're going to extend the series. We are very close. We got to clean some things up. We're very close. We got to do a better job on how we deal with Brunson, come up with loose balls, execute better down the stretch. And we're going to win this game, and we're going to get this back. Like, that's what you want to not, well, we got guys out. People aren't feeling well. And
right.
You're getting ready to go in. You're getting ready to go into, right now, I think, the toughest environment in the league to win a game. What they're going to see, okay? And so this is the last thing you want to hear at 10:30, in the morning of the game. So let's see how it plays out, man. I'm going to be as fascinated as anybody to watch this tonight.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, just to go over Anthony Edwards. My God, I mean, man. He's the great. That kid, 22 years old. He's put that team on his back. He's talking junk to KD, like. The kid's incredible. How do you not love him? I know you love him.
Look, he went from a guy that was, and I know Tom Crean really well, who coached him at Georgia. And so I remember when they recruited him and when he coached him. And I talked to Tom that whole season. I talked to Tom after that season when it was leading up to the draft and he was going to be potentially the number 1 pick. And I don't know if you remember, there was all kinds of stuff being reported that he wasn't a grinder and they interviewed him and didn't know if he loved the game enough. Do you remember all that? And I talked to Crean. I'm like, what's up with this? And he thought it was the most ridiculous thing he'd ever heard. So I'm going to trust a guy that's with him every day and someone who I trust inherently. Like, they're just an honest person. He's going to tell me the deal. He's like, that couldn't be further from the truth. So I don't know where all that stuff came from. Gets in the league. You see the athleticism his rookie year. You're like, okay, man, this guy's different. Like, he's built different. His body, his explosiveness. Now it's a matter of, what does he need to add to shore in the holes, right? And it was a couple things, and he's done it. The first thing was, does he have a counter move off the dribble to the first one that's being taken away? Like, a lot of those guys, they can make a crossover and go. But if the defender plays that well, they're going to plow through them anyway and throw up some junk at the rim because they don't have the ability to stop if they cut you off, back up, go to plan B on the same move. He didn't have that at first. He's added that, man. So now he's got a counter off the dribble to whatever you show him. That's dangerous because of that explosiveness. He's making mid-range and deep off-the-dribble shots at a really high rate where he absolutely knows what's about to happen. There's certainty in his shooting now that wasn't there. It was kind of like he was streaky. He's not anymore, man. He knows what spot he wants to get to. And here's the best part about him, Anthony, that nobody knew until we had a chance to see him with a sample size. That dude has what they call dog in him. He wants to compete and win. He doesn't shy away from matchups. If I'm supposed to be guarding this elite level wing, I'm guarding that guy. You're not hiding me on the two guard that can't dribble. I'm going to go. If I'm supposed to be guarding Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, Luka, that's who I'm guarding. And I want that matchup. Even if I get in foul trouble, it's okay because that's my responsibility as a great player. So you add all that stuff together and you're watching a guy ascend at a meteoric pace right now. And by the way, that next series, that I think could be the best single series we are going to get in the entire playoffs, Minnesota and Denver, man. That is going to be a heavyweight fight. I cannot wait for that to get started.
It's incredible. By the way, with Gobert and Towns, like, there's a matchup, man. Minnesota's good. Like, they can win that series.
You got size to throw at him, which is important, although he did have 40 against Gobert earlier this year. So good. But you got size to throw at him. You've got length in the perimeter defenders with Edwards, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Jay McDaniels. You got 3 different guys that you could throw at Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray with length and lateral quickness. And look, you're not going to stop them, but all you're trying to do is make more shots contested, more shots leaned back to reduce their efficiency just enough to give you a chance to win games. And that they have the defensive personnel to do it. By the way, you know what else they have? They have a lead guard in Mike Conley that can organize you.
Yes.
He organizes you offensively, and he makes sure that the ball.
The Sixers need, by the way.
Exactly. You start sets when I say, here we go. All right, you guys in spot? Okay, Anthony, pop out. Here you go. Now you're catching the ball at 24 feet with a live dribble. Now go run your action rather than bring the ball, advance it 60 feet with a guy turning you 4 times, and now you still got to go score at the end of the possession. They have Mike Conley. So, and they got Naz Reid, and they got depth, man, and it's going to be a phenomenal series. And by the way, I think also Clippers Mavericks, man, that thing getting to 2-2 now, and the way that game ended, Paul George and Harden were sensational in that game. That series is incredible. The winner of that series, I think, goes to the conference finals. So there's a lot more out there with the NBA postseason, but nothing bigger than what's about to happen in Madison Square Garden tonight.
That's right. And the last thing is, would you look at, like, I brought up the analogy about Julius Erving, and during his career, he needed to be shown how to win. Like, he didn't win. He needed Moses to put him over the top. Do you go look at LeBron? Do whatever you can to get him here?
Of course. You know, if you have an opportunity for that, you absolutely do. You had some interesting comments last night after the game. I don't know if you caught him, but
yeah.
You know, they asked him if he played his last game. Had he thought about if this was his last game in a Lakers uniform? He said, I'm not going to answer that. I don't even know what that means. You know, LeBron is famous for the passive-aggressive ambiguity. Like, that's what he loves. He loves to create the conversation around every move, whether it's a social media post or a comment at a presser or like whatever. I think he kind of enjoys that attention, and we'll see, man. I don't think he's thrilled with Darvin Ham. I don't know if Darvin Ham's going to survive. It's a shame because I love Darvin Ham, a human being. He's a former teammate of mine. The guy is a well-respected assistant in this league. That's a very difficult situation to have to coach those guys and win in the Western Conference. That's a brutal, brutal road. He might be out if they decide he's out. Does LeBron want to come back? Like, the Lakers, it doesn't matter what's going on with the Lakers. That's like always topic one of conversation, like on every platform I'm on. It's amazing. But yes, to answer your question, if you got an opportunity to take a look at something like that, yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you? Absolutely. Because here's the thing. The window for Embiid isn't very wide in the first place, and it's shrinking rapidly because of these injuries accumulating over time. And it gets to the point where you're like, man, whatever it takes to get one, get us to conference final at least. Give us a chance to play for that stage.
Yes.
Whatever it takes, whoever you have to sign. So yes, LeBron would be somebody you'd look at because, you know, if Embiid was 23 years old and healthy, I'd say no, I don't necessarily think so. But now you kind of got a sample size with Embiid, man. He's probably going to be banged up. He's going to miss a lot of time. He's north of 30. Yes, whatever it takes. Put something alongside of these guys to give them a chance to get to the conference finals and beyond.
Nothing better than leg day. Love you, brother.
Hey, man. I'll talk to you next week.
Here he is, the great Tim Legler. This portion of the show brought to you by the Bet Parks Sportsbook app. All right. We'll come back. The Clubhouse is coming up next. We want to hear from you. What are your comments? Everything. Look at the faces. The faces I look in this studio. Oh, my. Clubhouse coming up next. Have some fun. John Zapata, JP. Violations, Greg Caputo, VG. That's
Greetings.
us.
Let's go.
We hang out. A lot of long faces here. But before, let's pay some bills. I want to tell you about True Fan Travel. Vince Rizzuto and Bob Cavanaugh. You remember Philadelphia Philly sports trips? Always one of the greatest times, man. All those Birds trips and all the stuff that they do. Phillies in London, like you name it. Like they have all the best trips. Well, now they've become True Fan Travel. And it's a nationwide thing. And they're going to do all the Philly sports trip stuff. It's the greatest, man. Like if you've never been on a trip, well, I'm a travel guy, love traveling, the whole thing. Listen, do yourself a favor. Make sure you go to truefantravel.com and look at the trips. I mean, the bird trips alone are ridiculous, right? This season, we know about the Brazil thing, right? So they're doing a bash in Brazil. And then you got Tampa and New Orleans and all kinds of fun stuff. We'll find out later in May the schedule, so it'll be a lot of fun. Check out truefantravel.com and check off the bucket list. All right? Travel with your friends. See the world with your Philadelphia sports brethren. You got to check it out. It's a lot of fun. JP?
Obrigado, cuz. And let me tell you guys about our next sponsor here, our dear friends over at Mortgage CS. Guys, it is house buying season. And let me tell you from personal experience, it could be overwhelming, all right? It's a long process. It's not fun. That's the one thing to know. It is not fun going through that process. But that's why we have our friends over here at Mortgage CS. And what does Mortgage CS actually stands for? It stands for Mortgage Concierge Service. It is a white glove service, and it's an independent mortgage broker located right here in the beautiful city of Philadelphia. But they are not only here in Philly, but they are available coast to coast all throughout the country. And they're here to educate and empower their clients and help their clients obtain the ultra competitive rates in this house buying season here. And right now, if you guys are watching live on YouTube, you can see at the bottom left of your screen, Ben Stucker, the CEO of Mortgage CS. You see his phone number there. You can text him right now, 267-391-7425. Let's get his feel about Game 5 here. How does he feel about tonight? Does he think they're gonna roll over here? Well, maybe you should ask him or get some advice here as a first-time house buyer. So make sure you guys check it out, or you can email Ben at mortgagecs.com, or you can head on over to the website, mortgagecs.com/PHLY to get started here today. It's advertised, not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to a credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company and MLS ID 1467466. Visit mortgagecs.com.
Thank you, JP. Anthony Gargano Show continues because it's Clubhouse. And, of course, we're brought to you by Rite Aid. Find all your favorite goods at riteaid.com. And that would be taps.
Let's end it. End it tonight.
You guys are killing me.
Please.
You know what? I know who's killing me more. The fact I can't even blame you because Joe's got a migraine, and then Oubre's got the sniffles, and nobody's going to shoot around. And it does seem like what we talked about with Legs, that they're setting us up for a typical just quit job. I'm praying it's different.
They're giving us excuses already,
They are the kings of excuses. They just are, and it's terrible.
I don't
can't
want to see the Wells Fargo Center overrun again by those roaches from New York.
Why? So you want it done?
I'm done. I want Tobias' career here done. Tobias.
So everybody's Andrew, you too,
and the
suffering. My misery.
Yeah, man.
Rip the Band-Aid off. Tortured? Like, this is torture.
You might need an intervention.
They're torturing us.
Oh, I want to see a Game 6.
You do? Why?
You want to see more blue and orange in Philly?
I want to see a Game 6. I want to cling to that little sliver, and I know it's cold cut thin, like the hope, but I still need to do it.
They still owe Cuz 1, DJ.
I hear you.
Cuz
Listen,
103.
I don't blame you guys. You guys just want to end it. Like,
Well, maybe it's
you're
because
jumping off the bridge.
I've been all over New York media and New York Reddit today, and it's been a lot to handle.
All right, give us a highlight.
The first thing I see
going in.
on the Knicks thread on Reddit is all caps, "Wake the bleep up. We ending this crap tonight." Wouldn't be surprising if we start seeing the Sixers quitting once we go on a run in the second half. Let's send these ball bags home.
Ball bags.
I mean, they have to smell the blood at this point.
There's one thread. It's just called, I didn't realize how much hatred they have towards Embiid and the Sixers. So there's a thread on Reddit next. It just says, bleep Philly, bleep Will Smith, cheesesteaks, bleep your broken bell, bleep Kevin Hart, Rocky.
Wait,
bleep
Will
Benjamin
Smith.
Franklin.
Yo,
Bleep Embiid.
you
can't
bleep
bleep Will Smith.
Franklin, too.
And all caps, bleep Chase Utley.
That's definitely a
and,
Mets fan that wrote that out.
And they'd like to let us know it's Taylor Ham, not pork roll, you dumb Philly.
Oh.
Wow, they're just
They're
flexing up there.
Yeah, they're seizing up there.
I'm getting killed, buried. All my New York. Yeah, I worked up there, and I was always wearing Philadelphia with badge of honor and the whole thing. Oh, I'm getting.
You know
rolled.
Mike Vaccaro at the
Yes,
Post?
I know Mike
Post
Vaccaro.
He's got the headline story of the Post today. We may have a picture of it, but the cover of the New York Post says "Most Hated Man in New York" with a picture of Joel Embiid on it.
Are you
That's
serious?
so weird. The dude
And
is
the-
By
like,
the way, they coveted him. Oh,
Well,
here's
here's
the
the
thing.
thing.
There it is.
Yeah.
The most hated man in New York.
Here's the thing. The story is Vaccaro goes through. It's called 1 Week for Embiid to Become Legendary Knicks Villain. They compare him to Dennis Potvin, David Ortiz, Chase Utley, Reggie Miller, and Bill Laimbeer.
wow.
And he does tease Vaccaro at the end. He says there's a possibility of Embiid being the final piece because we all know Leon Rose has been dreaming about it. Well, he teases it. They
Yeah,
still
well,
cover him, even though they hate him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, between Leon, who's a Philly guy, and Wes, Worldwide Wes, who's a Philly guy, running the show up there. I mean, oh God.
They want him. They were last year when we got eliminated. They were making they already did the Photoshop Embiid in the Knicks.
Oh,
shoes.
yeah.
I know.
And now
I
they
did
make
too.
compilations of Embiid as a dirty player. You know, it's
Oh,
I'm saying he's like the dirtiest player since Bill Laimbeer.
We would be the same way. I will agree with that.
Of course, we're the same way.
We
I've
would be
said
the
that
same way
before.
with that. Yeah.
Listen, there's 90 miles that separate us. So, we're going to have similar traits.
Yeah.
That's the traits of sports fans. We're going to have similar personality traits.
But they're rolling over and dying tonight. If they're not going to shoot around the migraine,
I gotta hear this.
a
They're
tummy
rolling over
ache,
and dying.
Kelly Oubre tummy ache, grab some Tums
I know,
and
I
get
know.
on the court, dude. It's
I
game.
hear you.
This is do or die tonight, and you're just going to do that. They're rolling and dying. They're gonna
You're
die.
looking for stones. They're in a jar on Rick Brunson's shelf right now, right over his fireplace.
Oh, this is bad. I hate New York.
I hate
Are
Rick
they Buddy
Brunson's
Hield
face.
stones?
He never had this any to start with. You got to send him to a tertiary small town market. He can't handle Philadelphia.
So we're basically, you guys are all three of you just say it's over.
I'm over it. I mean,
And you want it to be over.
I want it to
Like,
be
that's the
over.
thing.
I'm hoping it's over. By the line right now, I think it's not going to be over, but I want it to
The
be over.
line is a Sixer line.
And 57% of the money is on the Sixers right
well,
now.
after you gave that Keith Pompey update, I was like, all right, this is the nail in the coffin for me.
Well, they're going to play.
I get
yeah.
that.
Like, there's no
I
way
get
the
that.
world Embiid's not going to play. If he didn't play because he's got a listen, the dude's got Bell's palsy. He's got a lot going
He
on, right?
does.
So whatever about the shoot around. It's just like nobody feels like hearing that. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh
Just
God,
feels like
I can't stand him, right?
Feels we're about to walk into
The
Game 7
whole-
like last year
this
again.
whole thing. What's that?
Feels like we're about to walk into Game 7 like last year.
Well, that's what I can't stand about it. Like, but the Oubre's sick. It's like, oh my God, how again? But Embiid's going to play,
Yeah.
and Oubre's going to play.
yeah.
They're
I
gonna
mean,
play,
yeah.
but it's just like the quit. It's we're seeing the quit already. It's
All right, well,
every
let's
year
see
this
it.
team does this
No,
to
dude,
us.
I hear you. Listen, I got nothing to say other than they have been tragically bad anytime things get tough. They wilt. Game 2, game 1, they're in, right? And then they just get buried on the boards, right? Like, when everybody says, no, the Knicks want it more. Well, yeah, that's pretty obvious. Defense and rebounding, right? 2 areas of one. Game 2, Sixers cleaned up the rebounding. They had the game 1. The game was over. I mean, if Kyle Lowry hits the free throw at 6 and he doesn't 5, you still got to win. And they were just in panic mode, and they let the Garden torch them. Like it was like a haunted house.
About that rebounding thing, someone actually put it online. I should have sent it to Andrew, but like it was a video about the rebounding in Game 4, and like it's crazy part is like yes, rebounding is a lot of effort, but these guys lack some fundamentals. Like where's the box out? You got Josh Hart running from a 3-point line, darting to the
crashing,
basket, and getting those boards.
Listen. Thibodeau teaches
Tibbs,
the art of the crash, right? Like this is hey, we're not worried about runouts. We're gonna go attack the offensive glass. And they all just boom, boom, and they take their lanes. Hartenstein, Hart, like they are lanes that toward the basket.
Yeah.
And it works perfectly against the Sixers because they're such a mediocre or below average rebounding team to start with.
Yes.
Still.
Yes.
After all these years.
You're right. Like, you see puff pastries like Tobias, right? Like the Buddy Hield, I bring up the legs. Like he's never seen. Here's a guy who's been covering the NBA or covering the NBA for 30 years, and he's never seen that.
I'm speechless about it.
Josh Hart is 6'4". My man's he got 17 boards last game, but 5 of them were offensive rebounds. That's insane to me.
Yes.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yes. 6'4".
6'4". My man's getting rebounds like he's Dennis Rodman.
Change.
How do we get Dennis Rodman to be like the rebound coach here? Just like hire him as a rebound coach. It's just
I don't believe me. I understand how you guys feel that you want it over, but now I'll ask you the people on the chat.
See what
what's the chat say?
Comments aren't.
I bet they're gonna be good.
People aren't really fired up either. Sean C, you'll find more heart in. Man, I can't read my handwriting.
That's always fun.
Yeah. You'll find more. You'll find more heart in a graveyard than anywhere on the Sixers roster.
Oh man.
Randy said Jimmy was our Moses, and we sent him packing.
It's a good point. That's a great point.
Anya, she speaks right to me. Thank God the season ends tonight. 215J Philly, you're a little optimistic. If Toby scores his average, we win. And to that I say, not happening.
No.
He just kills you. And that's the bright side, right? The bright side is no more Tobias. Those 5 years of Tobias.
How is it only 5 years?
It feels like you're right. It feels like a penance. You want to talk about carrying the boulder, right? Like these pilgrimages where you're walking through stones, right? Like your hands and knees.
I swear he's only 31. It feels like he's been here 10 years. How can he only be 31?
No, what sucks too is like watching the rest of the playoffs. Like you got Toby like averaging 10 points. I don't even know what it is. But then like last night, Derek White dropping 30 points. He's like the 4th, 5th option on Boston. Michael Porter Jr. dropping 26 points. Like this stuff just makes you want to rip your eyes out.
I know. Like you guys, and you look at it and they're just small. They come up so lame. Yeah, I think you said it, Andrew, weak. Like there's a feeling that they're just weak. I'm praying somehow, like this next team, you gotta be kidding me. You know what it is? It's freaking New York. I'm telling you, dude, I hate them.
I hate them.
Hate them. Hey.
I mean, in a perfect world,
they torture. They're the big brother that you can't beat. Like in anything.
Yeah.
Like you ever see that commercial? I love the what is it? Not chaos. Mayhem. The Mayhem commercials?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's like, I'm your older brother.
Yeah.
And like you see him, he's mocking you, right? Mocking you and everything.
You think they're the big brothers?
That's New York.
You think there are big brothers in everything?
Well, not football.
That's right.
Well, yeah.
We own those little men.
No, but we're the little brother
Little man.
in the whole scope of the country.
I mean,
The Mets and Phillies are tough.
They'll be like, you got your one, you're cute.
Right,
You know,
right.
You got your one.
Yes, he's right. Because in the end, like they're sticking lucky ass Giants,
Right.
I know.
right?
It's two
That
Super
win
Bowls.
wild cards.
Right.
There was a lot of ring chatter yesterday. The Yankees, the
Yeah,
Giants,
I mean, that's what I'm
comparing.
saying. Like, we go fight. It's like the Phillies are an old franchise, and we were the first to 10,000 losses, and they have
10,000 trophies.
Yeah.
God. I can't stand it. And then they're going to make fun of us somehow.
Oh, after this.
I
yeah.
will say the conversation at the end with Legs, I'm on board with. Let's get Bronny's in the transfer portal. Let's get Nova to offer Bronny a spot. Let's bring LeBron out here to run around with
Dude,
him.
I think
I'm all about that.
Listen, I thought about that last night. When I watched the end of that game, I thought about it and went, listen, Paul George is using this whole thing. He wants to stay in the Clippers. He's an LA guy. Yeah. He's not coming here. You might need somebody, unless you're going to need somebody else. But I would do whatever I could to get LeBron here.
I mean, realistically, you replace Toby's 9 with LeBron's consistently going to put 20 up, and that wins the series.
And you know what? You load manage them all year long, and you just get them basically for the playoffs.
Yep.
And with Embiid, it'd be fun. LeBron and Embiid.
If somehow what you need is you need Siakam not to sign the extension.
Yeah, come back home with Nick. Come back here with Nick.
I mean, that's a lot less
Cameroon
money,
brother.
Right? Because they can sign him for
The
considerably
Bird,
more.
they have it is. But you need him not to want to stay there.
There'd be a lot of pressure with the Players Association, probably too.
I mean, that's the issue.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. We're going to go into this off season, and if there's no Paul George and no Siakam, oh my God.
Oof.
It's got to be
Oh
LeBron.
my God, it's torture. It's torture.
Toby's
it's
back.
complete. No, God.
Anybody
Elton
but,
Brand
please.
away
Oh
from
my
the
God.
front office.
All
Our
right.
friend of the show, Keith Pompey, his article today, he is suggesting having Batum start in place of Toby just to try something.
I would definitely do that.
Yeah.
I would definitely do that.
Can he just not play this game? Can we just not have him
No,
shoot up?
How is
need
he
to
not
do
missing
something.
shootout?
You
He's excited
need-
to shoot around.
You need to do something
Yeah.
dramatic. Nurse needs to do that. The other thing they do need, and they need that lead guard. I talked about that with Legs. I love Maxey to death, but he's when it comes to he's immature as a facilitator,
That's a good point.
right?
Yeah.
And you need a lead guard.
Pat Bev would have been nice.
So speaking of Pat Bev, you have the Pat Bev stuff.
Did you have the clip there?
Let me see if I can pull it up.
All right, so go ahead, VG. Tell us about Pat Bev.
Well, I mean, he's just he's a fighter, and I guess he's saying he called out on Twitter.
So it's on his
JP's on this.
Yeah, he was on his Pat Bev podcast. So earlier after the trade deadline, he called out the Sixers, saying that people didn't want to win, but that's how he left it. And so everyone insinuated that he was talking about the players. So Pat Bev later on, this clip came out yesterday, kind of clarified what he was saying. What he was saying was the people in the front office, the upper management is exactly what he said, didn't want to win. So you bring up LeBron, right? So I'm thinking about back, what was it, 2019 when he went to the Lakers?
Yeah, and there was
The Sixers
he flirted.
Yeah.
He flirted here.
So
Yeah.
I wonder if
I mean,
upper
it was
management
never really serious, but
but I wonder how much of it was upper management at the time, maybe Brett Brown at the time. Maybe he didn't feel too comfortable with it. And then, of course, the Lakers.
he wanted to go to LA for the film
Lakers
business.
lore.
I mean, that was his whole thing. The build his film company, everything else. I don't believe Pat. Do you have the Pat Bev stuff, Andrew?
I'm getting it up right now.
But do you think this upper
Why
management?
wouldn't upper management want to win?
Well, that goes to another point. So Wednesday, obviously, Josh Harris is the new owner of the Washington Commanders. Sixers in Game 3 win that game. Where was Josh Harris? Well, he was doing the draft stuff down in D.C., and a lot of people online were not happy with that as well.
But here's the thing: David Edelman is now
He's the one that oversees.
he's now the guy that's overseeing ownership. While Josh is doing Washington, David Edelman's doing is the Sixers. He's a Philly guy. We're from here, right?
That doesn't rub you the wrong way at all, though.
I mean, listen.
He's got the Devils, the Commanders,
I hear you.
Real Salt Lake.
Listen, I get you. I just look at it if I was building a sports company, if my franchise is available, I'd like to get them. But Edelman is running the Sixers. David is from Philadelphia. He's right here. He's a real estate guy in Philadelphia. So he's running the Sixers. I know he wants to win. I've talked to him. I don't believe that. I mean, maybe Pat Bev has sour grapes. I don't know.
I think what Pat is trying to say is like he doesn't feel like the organization is making the right move. So like one example he did bring up was the trade deadline, bringing in Buddy Hield and campaign. And obviously he brought up himself and Marcus Morris. In hindsight, Pat Bev and Marcus Morris may have helped with some of that, maybe the points aspect, but would have helped with some of that toughness. And that's what Pat Bev was bringing up.
I mean, that might be right. That may be correct. I mean, I didn't expect Buddy Hield that's
a good point too.
To be in fetal position.
Literally.
Hey,
man, disappeared.
Don't be slandering fetuses like that. I don't know what
forget Pat Bev. I don't even need to hear him. Let me ask you, by the way, you say Jeff McLean is a neck guy?
He got the neck. There was some. I do have a picture of this. Well, there was some comments on his pose today. People were wondering if he was laying in bed with the way his angle was. And he did have the shirt unbuttoned with pretty good neck exposure today.
Yeah, Jeff.
But he's got great hair. Yeah, he's got the best hair of all the beat writers, easily. I would kill for that hair. Yeah, look at that neck. Is he laying in bed?
Oh, that's classic.
McLean.
All right, best and worst of the evening. Oh, man. What do you got? Give me the best.
I want to go with Howie Roseman here because the Carson Wentz trade is official. So you want to hear what we finally got from Carson Wentz?
Yes. All right, that's good. That's good.
So out of Carson Wentz, we got A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Jalen Carter, and now Cooper DeJean. And then we'll see what Cooper is. Right. And Jalen, Jalen, I still want to see him in year 2.
I have no issue with
that. But
I
that's
think he's
still really good for, obviously, we all know what happened to Carson.
I'm mad at BG.
Oh, Howie's a wizard at the trades. I mean, we're going to talk about
Howie Potter.
Yeah, Howie drafted
Howie
Carson.
Potter.
Garden Liviosa. And there you go. AJ Devontae,
Howie
Jalen
Potter,
Cooper.
BG. He's a wizard.
We got to make the graphic
He's
with
a
the glasses.
Howie Potter.
The wizard putting out that fire. He started with that Carson pick.
Oh, man.
Sure.
Everybody wanted Carson. Come on.
Yeah.
Stop. By the way, that's your back in the day moment brought to you by Rite Aid. Find all your allergy medication, all your shots. Rite Aid. Go to riteaid.com. What was your best of the evening?
So I've had a hard time after that Phillies loss and the
dude, that was Sir Anthony. I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm not worried about really much on that team because they're really, really good. But Sir Anthony scares me.
Yeah.
Calling for a hideaway pitch and it's like in the dirt.
Come on, bro. Yeah.
So I did not go to the sports world. South Street has been not under a little black cloud the last couple years.
I know where you're going.
Jim Steaks is back, baby, and I don't even eat meat like beef, but there was a line around the block.
That was
the
my
smell
spot.
so good. So yeah, Jim Steaks being back is super nice.
Imbibe on you when you smell.
It smells delicious.
Anybody that for years, for
Fried
20
onions
years,
kill me.
I lived on Rodman Street, like right off of 8th and South. And walking, and you would smell that Jim Steak. It was impossible not to go in.
It is probably the strongest temptation I have when I walk past there. But
You're not even a chicken cheesesteak guy?
they don't do chicken
Oh,
cheesesteaks
that's right,
there.
they don't.
Yeah.
Ishkabibbles? That's on South Street.
Yeah. But
All right.
it doesn't smell like
steaks.
Nah, Jim's is...
What?
Ishkabibbles is fine, though.
You gotta wait. I want to see VG have one.
What? A Jim steak? Maybe. We'll do it. We'll see what happens. We'll see what it goes. Yeah.
All right. Worst of the evening, JP.
All right, so talk about clips that haven't aged well. Well, before the season, Tobias Harris, NBC Sports Philly, brought up the fact that Sixers fans would trade him for a crumble cookie. I think hindsight, I would rather see the crumble cookie start in Game 5 over Tobias.
Now you're starting. Where's Matt Cord? The crumble cookie.
Because he'll give us 20 points tonight, the crumble cookie.
Well, he get you more rebounds.
Stop.
The crumble cookie gets more rebounds.
Come on.
We'll get crumble cookies after the show,
Yeah.
Andrew. All right.
Yeah.
I think tomorrow you got to celebrate with some crumble cookies.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think tomorrow could be crumble cookie day across Philadelphia.
Big glass of milk.
Good luck trying to find someone that's going to part with a crumble cookie for Tobias Harris at this point. Really? Come on. I'm not giving up that cookie.
Well, soon Tobias will be joined some Detroit deep dish pizza.
Yeah.
There you go.
Go back to Detroit.
Enjoy it.
Yes. Yeah. That's the pan. They have their pan.
Yeah.
Detroit style.
Tobias is gonna love that pan.
You're
like-
gonna love it.
yeah.
He'll have no pressure,
Yeah.
no one watching.
Yeah.
He'll put up
Oh,
24
yeah.
a night.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
It'll be 20. So comeback player of the year, Tobias Harris.
Right.
Oh, God. All right. What's your worst, VG?
My worst has been on my street the last 2 days. It was a leftover from Sunday's game. There's a Sixers, like I think they give out a rally towel maybe or something at the game. There it is in the sidewalk.
Dude. So
It's sad.
And I love it
It's
says
sad.
tenacity around the side
Oh,
of
my
it,
God.
resiliency.
Yeah,
There,
Like,
right.
come on.
Their
All
playoff
those
motto.
adjectives.
Their playoff motto is so funny because I don't feel any love from them.
No,
For the love of
right.
Philly. No, there's a love from them.
Every time I go out to walk my dogs, I'm reminded of what a disaster Sunday was with that towel sitting there.
That was horrible.
Yeah, I'm going to pick it up today.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
Speaking of dogs, so we had a late night Sunday because we had baseball, right? So we got cheesesteaks.
Mm-hmm.
So I had half a cheesesteak and waiting for me for last night. And same thing. Like it was we never can cook in the house, although we're always eating out because we got all kinds of stuff. So I like, all right, I got half a cheesesteak from the night before. I'll just eat that. So it's put out. It lasted 5 minutes, and the gooch got it.
Oh, no. Onions on
Long
that?
hots and onions.
Oh. It's bad.
But the gooch
Did
is
you wake up okay? Like no
He's
trail,
fine.
like
Dude, these dogs.
no trail of mud through the house or anything?
nothing. I
Wow.
expected the worst.
Yeah.
Not, but he's done that before.
Wow.
Massimo left his cheesesteak out, and it's gone.
He's a
Probably
steak
2
dog.
bites, too.
Yeah,
Gone.
yeah.
Inhaled.
Yeah. He crushed it. The goose.
That's
Yeah.
the worst too. You got none of it?
Nothing.
Oh,
And I was
man.
so
Were you
mad.
looking forward to it.
I was looking forward to it because it was tasty. It was
Right.
tasty, right? I had the one half, and I saved the bigger half for the next
Where was the
day.
steak from?
It was just from a local joint.
Okay.
And I was just like,
He's just eyeing it up, waiting
yeah,
for
the gooch, man.
Those
And I
dogs.
got distracted because I had to run around, do some stuff. You know, you got
Yeah.
And then the gooch just swooped in.
So does the gooch eat it there or take it to a little place and eat it?
Nah, he dives into
Wolfs
it.
it down.
Yeah.
It's that
Yeah,
dog mentality.
there's I have to put if I don't take if the garbage isn't full from the night before, you know, I don't waste the bag, right?
Mhm.
But I now have to put stuff on top of it
Oh.
because he figured out a way to open. It's one of those things where you step on it and
Yep.
it opens,
Yeah.
and he's figured out a way to do it.
Dude, I've been going through this. My dog has figured. I bought a $120 dog-proof trash can. He figured out a way to knock it over
Yes,
and get everything out.
that's what the goose does.
And then I
Goose, like it's a tackling zone.
yeah, then I attached it to a butcher block that I have on wheels with like this Mitchie Cohen, these heavy duty bungee cords, so he can't knock it over. He pushed the whole butcher block and trash can to the middle of the floor and found a way to manipulate it to tilt it.
Yeah.
They're crazy.
They're not.
I had to put a gate up so that he can't get in the kitchen anymore.
Yeah, no.
Dogs have a
They
higher
do.
IQ than Paul Reed. What the heck?
Oh
My
man.
God, they're figuring out how to knock
Oh,
over
what we
trash
gonna
cans.
do tonight?
Well, here's the thing.
They're gonna win.
No.
You watch. They're gonna win, and there's gonna be a game 6.
Because if there's a run in
I'm
the second
telling you they're
quarter,
gonna win.
Andrew and I are going to put on the Union game and turn off the Sixers. Because of that.
Hey, your boy's coming back to save the end of the night, right? Turbo pitching, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Those are 1-8 all time in Anaheim since they started playing. there.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
No Trout home run last night.
Yeah, he was leadoff for Anaheim. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's hope
They're
it
winning
ends.
tonight.
Let's hope it ends. You really want that to happen in South Philly again?
Well, a game 6, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Game 6 happens.
Oh, man.
We don't say, hey, well, maybe let's just go to game 7. Like, is there a possibility that we would have the mindset of willing to win to go shock the world, to stick it to New York?
If one of the role players steps up and shoots or scores over 20 points, then maybe I'll have, because that's really, this series has really been about the role players, which is so ironic because we thought we had that edge going into the series. So if someone steps up tonight, maybe Cuz will have a little more optimism for Thursday.
When's the game 6? Thursday?
I think so. Yeah.
2-day turnaround. No, they ain't gonna have it.
I would love for that to happen. It would be the best feeling, just really stick it to New York. But if they win tonight, okay, and they come back here and then New York wins it here, just imagine,
that would be torture.
imagine
That
what
would
those
be
fans,
horrible.
Yeah, I don't
imagine
wanna
what
do
those
it.
fans are going to do.
Bro, that would be horrible.
Yeah.
You know, back the
They'll
last
burn down
time
the
they
Wells
played
Fargo.
in 1989, the Knicks swept the Sixers in a 5-game series, and the fifth game or game 3 was at the Spectrum, and they had the brooms out.
Yeah.
There was the picture. You remember Barkley with all the Knicks dudes in the background with the brooms. I can't handle that.
Yeah.
Right.
I can't
I don't even
handle
want
that.
to chance it. Lose tonight. Lose by 20 tonight.
Put us out of our
End it.
misery.
Yeah.
What, so you guys are changing the channel at halftime?
No, I'll watch
I'm going
it.
to the Union game, so I'm not even going to watch it.
Yeah, he's not even have to worry about it. I'll have the Union on the lap MacBook. I'll have
You
the
can't
Sixers
even
on the
say
big
it's a
screen.
violation at this point.
No.
No.
It's your Philadelphia team, so I can't, Union are great. I can't say anything. All right, well, that's it. I can't believe it. We're going to be back tomorrow. I don't know. I might be in a...
If they win tonight, Cuz is gonna get us tomorrow. He's gonna be
Listen.
like,
No, I'm not going to get, there's nothing to get. Listen, I'm the idiot that's rooting for them. I'm the idiot. Listen, chances are we've seen the evidence. Quit against Miami 2 years ago. Quit against New York. Let alone all the past sins, Father's Day, every other nonsense. So, we talked about the definition of insanity.
Brighter days are coming tomorrow. The end of the Tobias Harris era.
All right. On that note, everybody, we love you. Have a great day. Thanks for hanging with us. And we'll talk about it in the morning. See you then.
We all silly like the mayor.